Hello and welcome to this Prepare for IELTS Speaking video, and in this video we're going to look at the topic of hometown. Now this is essential preparation for your IELTS speaking test because you will be asked questions on either your hometown or the place that you're living at the moment. So it's essential, very important, that you know lots of language to describe your hometown or any place. This language will also be useful for describing places. So let's take a look at some of the questions. They might ask you. They're not going to ask you all of these questions in part one. They're going to choose 2 or 3 of them. But make sure you have some language ready to be able to answer questions like these. So let's take a look at some of these and some of the kinds of things you could say. What's the name of your hometown? Well, it's called London and it's located in the south of England. IELTS examiners don't want you to give long answers to these questions, so don't prepare 3 sentences because they will stop you, because they have to move on. They have a number of questions that they need to ask you. But don't just say, it's called London. Try and add a little bit extra. It's located in, it's situated in. And these just mean it's in, and then we would add where it's located. It's located in the south of England, it's located in the north of England, it's located in the northeast of England. Is it a big city or a small town? So think about where you live. Maybe you can say, it's a relatively big city, I guess. Relatively big means compared to other places. It might not be as big as London or Seoul or Tokyo, but compared to other cities in your country, it's relatively big. It's a relatively big city, I guess. If you live in a town, you could say it's a medium-sized town, and that means not that big, but also not that small. A medium-sized town. Describe your hometown a little. Now, they're saying a little, they don't want you to talk for 5 minutes, but some of the things you could say are about how many people live there. It's a densely populated place. If you're saying it's a densely populated place, it means lots of people live there. If there are not many people living there, you can say it's a sparsely populated place. Think about where the people live. Most residents live in residential areas on the outskirts of the city. Residential areas are places where people live. On the outskirts of means on the edges of the city. In the heart of the city, it's a shopper's paradise. In the heart of means in the middle of. A shopper's paradise, a great place for people who like shopping. This is a very useful phrase for when you're describing a place in part 2, a shopper's paradise. They may ask you about the places of interest, or you may want to talk about the places of interest. There are a number of places of interest, such as they might ask you about what you recommend visiting. I would highly recommend visiting. I would strongly recommend visiting. If they ask you this question, how long have you been living there? This is a great opportunity to get some complex grammar in your answer. I've been living there since birth. So that means from the moment you were born. Or I've been living there for roughly 5 years. Roughly means about. And if you are hoping to get IELTS 7 or above, you need a range of grammatical structures. So present perfect continuous, I've been living there, is a good one to try and increase your grammatical range. Is there anything you dislike about it? Like all cities, there is traffic congestion at peak times, so I get annoyed when I get stuck in traffic. Traffic congestion, very good for IELTS writing as well, meaning lots of traffic. at peak times, so these are the times of day when it's very, very busy, usually first thing in the morning, last thing at night, 8 till 9, 5 till 6, usually in my country. I get annoyed, I get angry when I get stuck in traffic. When you get stuck in traffic means your journey is slower, or your car is stopped, or the bus is stopped and it can't move. They may ask you, do you think you will continue living there for a long time? And if you're not planning to live there for a long time, you can say, I'm hoping to go to France to live in the near future. But maybe you don't know. We often don't know what the future will bring, meaning what will happen in the future. I'm not entirely sure. Who knows what the future will bring? Remember, the IELTS test is not a job interview. It's a test of your language. So this is a good complex sentence with lots of complex language, so you could use it just to impress the IELTS examiner. I'm not entirely sure. Who knows what the future will bring? Has your hometown changed since you were a child? Yes, it's radically changed. And you could then give an example. To radically change means to change a lot. Or you could say, no, there have been minor changes, but it's still pretty much the same. Minor changes, small changes, pretty much the same. Pretty much we use in speaking, it's quite informal, almost the same. Are there any changes you would like to make? Now here I'm using the opportunity to use the second conditional, so I'm imagining a situation. If I had the chance, I'd change. If I had the chance, I'd get rid of. If I had the chance, I'd increase the number of buses in the city centre, for example. So try to learn the second conditional phrase to use in your answer. If I had the chance, I would. What is it famous for? It's renowned for its cuisine. Some of its famous dishes include. It's renowned for means it's famous for. Cuisine means food, and dishes just means food. Now, it doesn't matter, it's not important what your hometown or city is famous for. Just remember to use some complex language. This is something we say in English, and you probably say the same thing in your language. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Now, in IELTS speaking, there are very few things that you can predict. However, talking about your hometown or place that you're living at the moment, there is a good chance, there is a strong possibility that you will be asked questions on these. So, go to the booklet now and make some notes using the language, using the phrases that I've taught you in this video, and make sure that when asked these questions that you have some of these answers ready. Some people think part 1 is just a warm-up and it's not important and the IELTS examiner is not really listening to your answer. This is not true. I've often made a decision in the first 2 minutes of what kind of grade I'm going to give the person based on their answers to the part 1 questions. So it is very, very important that you prepare some answers for this part of the test. Hope you found that useful. Thank you for watching. Hello and welcome to this Prepare for IELTS Speaking video. And in this video, I'm going to look at the topic of work. Now, if you are a student, then don't watch this video, go and watch the study video instead. This is only for people who are going to talk about work in the IELTS speaking exam. So, near the start of the IELTS speaking exam, the examiner might ask you, do you work or are you a student? And you might answer, yes, I work. But there's nothing in this answer to impress the IELTS examiner, so try to develop it a little bit further. I'm currently working for. using the present continuous will add to the grammatical range, which is 25% of your overall grade for IELTS speaking. Now, although the present continuous is quite a simple tense, many IELTS candidates do not use continuous tenses during the IELTS test, so when a candidate uses it, the IELTS examiner notices, "I'm currently working for." The examiner may then ask, "What do you do?" And you might answer, "I'm a doctor." But again, there's nothing in the answer to impress the IELTS examiner. You must remember that IELTS is a language test, and the IELTS examiner can only give you a high band score if you use lots of complex language. It's not a job interview. The IELTS examiner does not care what your job is. It's about language. So use some complex grammar, such as the present perfect continuous. So let's take a look how you can use it for this question. The present perfect continuous describes actions that started in the past but continue in the present. So if you are still doing this job, you can say, "I've been working as a doctor for about 3 years." So it started in the past and it continues in the present. I've been working as a doctor for about 3 years. You try. Another question might be, "Do you like your job?" And you might answer, "Yes, I like my job." It's not good enough to be getting IELTS 7 or above. You are just repeating words from the question. You need to use much more complex language. Now I'm going to use lots of language for the rest of the video. You're not going to talk about your job for long in the IELTS test, so try to learn 4 or 5 useful phrases. Now these phrases will also be useful for other topics during the test, not just for talking about jobs. So don't think this video is too long and totally useless for a topic where you might only get 2 or 3 questions, but also don't worry about trying to learn everything. Pick the phrases which you like and try to learn those. So you could say, "Oh yes, I absolutely love my job." And although the verb to love is quite a simple verb, by adding the adverb "I absolutely love my job," it makes it a little bit more complex. Absolutely, I love every minute of my job. Using absolutely makes it much stronger than just saying, "Yes, I love my job. Absolutely, I love every minute of my job." Or you could say, "Oh yes, I do. I have nothing to complain about. As jobs go, it's great." As jobs go means compared to the average or typical one. But if you don't like your job, because not everybody does, you could say, "To be honest, I can't stand my job." I can't stand is a very useful phrase, meaning I hate. Quite frankly, I don't particularly enjoy my job. Quite frankly means to be honest. And I don't particularly enjoy, I don't really enjoy. To be perfectly honest, I'm not that keen on my job. And we're going to do likes and dislikes in another video, but they're very useful because in IELTS speaking you're often asked whether you like or dislike something. So "I'm not keen on" is a useful phrase. They may ask you what you like or what you dislike about your job. So you could say, "No 2 days are the same, so I like the variety and unpredictability." Variety means you do lots of different things. Unpredictability, you don't know what you're going to be doing each day. My workmates, they're all really chilled but incredibly supportive, so there's a great atmosphere. Workmates is an informal way of saying work colleagues. Chilled, relaxed. supportive, they support you, they help you. A great atmosphere, a good feeling in the office where you work. It may sound materialistic, but the pay and the perks. It's a well-paid job with a company car. Materialistic means obsessed with money and objects, material goods. The pay, how much you get paid, the salary. The perks, these are the things you get extra in a job, such as a company car. That's a car given to you to use by the company. A well-paid job, you receive a good amount of money for the job. But what do you dislike? It's a dead-end job with no career prospects. Really complex language here, a dead-end job. A dead end describes a street where it's not possible to go any further. It's a dead end, so you must turn your car around and leave the street the same way you came in. But we use this to describe jobs as well, a dead-end job. There is no future promotion prospects. You cannot get promoted to a better job in that company. It's a dead-end job with no career prospects. Career prospects are chances of getting a better job. I do the same thing day in, day out. Day in, day out is a very useful phrase, meaning every day. Mind-numbingly boring, very useful because you often need to describe something as boring, and that's just too simple. Mind-numbingly boring means really, really boring. It's impossible to have any work-life balance because of my heavy workload. We talk a lot about work-life balance, and it's when you have a good amount of time for work, but you also have some free time to spend with your family or to do your hobbies. Heavy workload, really, really useful phrase. I use it a lot because it's one you can use for lots of situations. A heavy workload means you have lots of work to do. So make sure you know lots of complex words and phrases that could be used to talk about your job. So, for example, I've been doing it for roughly 5 years. Roughly meaning about. If I had worked harder at school, I might have become a politician. Here I've used the third conditional to talk about a situation in the past, and I'm imagining a different result. As jobs go, it's pretty good, so I can't complain. So meaning compared to other jobs as jobs go. So I'm not saying it's the best job in the world, but also it's not the worst job in the world. It's a job that's hard to switch off from, but I do enjoy it. To switch off means you stop thinking about it. Very useful phrasal verb, quite informal. So when you go home, you don't think about it and you're able to relax, to switch off from. It's a pretty intense job, and some days can be quite draining, to be honest. Pretty intense, meaning it's very, very hard work and stressful, and draining, it takes all your energy. Feeling appreciated, my boss always gives positive feedback. If you feel appreciated, you feel that your work has value, you feel you're doing a good job. My boss, my manager, gives positive feedback, says good things about me. It's incredibly stressful and challenging, so I feel drained by the end of the day. Draining to describe the job that takes all your energy. Drained is how you feel after you've done a very draining job. Challenging, difficult. It's rewarding, so I get a great sense of satisfaction. Now, rewarding might mean you get paid a lot, but also it might mean that you're doing a job that makes you feel good. For example, if you're a doctor and you help lots of people, you heal people, it's rewarding. A great sense of satisfaction. You feel good after you've done the job. It's hard to climb the career ladder, so the career prospects aren't great. We talk about the career ladder, and it means starting at the bottom and moving up to a better job within the same company or within another company. To climb the career ladder, the career prospects, the chances of getting a better job. I can work flexi time. Flexi time means you can choose your start time and your finish time as long as you work 40 hours a week, for example. It's convenient, it's suitable for you, it's good for you, it fits around the school runs. Now, if you're a working mother like me, you have to do school runs, and that means take your children to school and collect your children from school. So it fits around. I can do it after the school run or before the next school run. It's not a job for life, but it pays pretty well. And it's not that taxing, so it's all right. A job for life means a job that you will do for the rest of your life. It pays pretty well. In IELTS Speaking, we can use informal words such as pretty, meaning quite. It pays pretty well. It's not that taxing. If something's taxing, it takes a lot of your energy and you feel quite drained after it. It's not that taxing. Like most jobs, it has its ups and downs, but on the whole, it's not that bad. Ups and downs, good points, bad points, on the whole, generally. And finally, things that you might have in your job: tight deadlines, intense pressure, working almost 24/7, make it pretty challenging, but I wouldn't change it for the world. So tight deadlines, so you don't have a long time to complete an assignment or a project. Intense pressure, it's very stressful. Working almost 24/7, this means like 24 hours, 7 days a week. Pretty challenging, quite difficult, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Now, like I said before, I've used a lot of language in this video. This is great if you're just looking to improve your language and you're learning English, which is what I hope most of you are doing, and it's not just all about the IELTS exam. But if you are just trying to learn as much as possible and your IELTS exam is in the next few weeks, then just choose 4 or 5 phrases, 4 or 5 words that you think are useful for you, and learn them and practice them as much as possible. Thank you for watching.